Okay, B, we just told you offline that we have now published over 200 episodes, which is crazy. And Joe, I feel like we need to celebrate at another time because we haven't actually said that to each other yet, which is nuts. Um, but in honor of our 200th episode having been released, we thought we'd mix things up a bit. And we thought it'd be really fun to kind of have an icebreaker round before we dive into the nitty gritty things that solopreneurs want to know. But the icebreaker question still revolves around that. So we want to ask you, what do you wish you would have known before becoming a solopreneur?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Like a week and a half ago, I actually did a presentation on the 10 things I wish I knew before I moved out of being a full-time employee. And the number one thing for me was everyone knows that on like when you work as a full-time employee, like there's a business ladder, right? You start as a junior, you move into senior roles, director, VP, and you move up. But not a lot of people tell you that there's a whole ladder on the business side as well. And so you always start out as a solopreneur and you go, I want to make $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And typically you want to do that passively because you want to live a good life. But then once you become that solopreneur, you start making that kind of money, you start realizing, oh, there's things that I don't like doing in my business and I'm going to need to hire someone. And so you start hiring people, and as you start hiring people, you start becoming a manager. And so all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, now I'm managing anywhere from 3 to 8 people. I'm the manager of the business. And then you get to a point where you're like, I don't want to manage people all the time. So you start hiring people kind of underneath you in terms of like the leadership role. And all of a sudden you become a business owner with some leadership there, not full leadership, but some leadership to manage your team. And you start realizing over time, you're like, oh, the business is actually growing. People are actually doing things. Now maybe I need to build out a full leadership team because I either want to become the visionary of the business or the COO of the business or the operator. And so you build out a bigger team and you get to a point where you fully do that. And that can take anywhere from like 3 to 20 years, 25 years. Some people never get to that point. But let's say you get to that point and then you go, well, I have this money, this business is running. How do I grow this business? I either start going into M&A or investing and all this stuff. And no one tells you that there is this ladder of evolution within business too. And I think the joy of when you run a business is at some point you decide what level you want to be at. And so some people will grow, realize it's not for them, and then they will back down to simplifying things, for example. But that's the one thing that I wish I knew before I got into the business is that there's ladders on both sides. And it's very similar to each other.
I feel like that even goes for people that don't even necessarily hire employees, but just bring on contractors. Because even if you work with a ton of contractors and you're still technically a solopreneur, you're still managing all the contractors.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Or you really, really trust them and that they're doing a great job, or there are other issues.
100%.
Well, speaking of you leaving the corporate world, you were in engineering. So how did you go from that to starting CGM marketing? And what was kind of the biggest challenge in taking that leap from corporate into your own thing?
That's a great question. It's funny because I say I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur. It just kind of like came to me. Like I just would always try new things. Like I always worked as a sales engineer. I did that for 7 out of the 10 years that I used to work for TELUS. But throughout that path, like, I became a personal trainer. I picked up personal training clients, realized I didn't like doing that because it was more mental than it was actually physical to get people to where they wanted to be. I did like a financial course. I did a whole bunch of stuff. And CGM marketing was the one thing that kind of just like I was doing it and I kind of kept iterating on it. And at some point it just started kind of working. Right. And so I was like, oh, I have something here. And it was fun to do because it was on the side of my full-time job and I didn't have to put, a ton of attention to it. And it was kind of cool making, a couple $1,000 on the a month extra. And you're like, cool, this can be used for, other things in life. But CGM at some point, it got to about between the year of 3 and 4, like as I kept running both businesses or working full time and running the business, it hit this kind of flywheel. And I didn't expect it. Like the business from the beginning of January to the end of that December had 10x. And I got to a point where I was like, wow, I'm not even putting my full attention into this. What happens if I go and put my full attention to it? What could it potentially become? And so I kind of hit this like crossroads where I was like, I know if I continue to stay as a sales engineer, I'll be very successful in life. I'll be able to retire early regardless because you get paid well. But this other path, I don't know what the outcome is. And that was kind of exciting to me at that time. And I was like, I'm going to go see what becomes of this if I put my full attention into it, because I could always come back to the old path. And so that's kind of like where that shift happened, where I was like, I got to make a decision and go all in and see what ends up happening.
So what was the difference in the feeling of personal training not working and you kind of being over it to you hitting your stride with your current business? Like what was there, you said it just felt right. What was that that felt right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like on the personal training front, like I felt okay, like you look at the end run, like for everything that you do, like you look at what the outcome looks like. So when it comes to personal training, like what is the kind of evolution of that business is one, I saw a lot of personal trainers having to wake up at 5 in the morning to take care of clients and do that. And then during the middle of the day, nothing's happening. And then they have to work in the evening again because they have clients coming in. I was like, that's not the lifestyle I want. Like I already have a pretty cool, like I like being a sales engineer. Like I learned a lot that there was a lot of things to learn. So it never really made sense for me to make that leap to that. On the CJAM, the marketing connector side, what was interesting was like I was building a business that had some form of passive income. And so like as I connected businesses and stuff together, I'm getting passive income because I added value to both. And if they're both the businesses are growing, I was getting paid passively. And the passive income was more interesting to me because I was like, I'm getting my time back. I'm getting more of my freedom back, which I think a lot of people can resonate with. And it's what they're trying to build. And so I think that's what the alignment was. It's like, oh, I found a business model where this works. That being said, connecting people is a lot of work. So a piece of my business is passive, but all of it isn't passive, right? So I think a lot of people don't see that aspect.
Yeah, let's just briefly describe your business because we're talking about it, but we haven't told people what you do. So yeah, give us a quick description of what your business is and what you mean by connecting people.
Sure. Yeah. So my business is basically I'll talk to businesses on the front end, understand what a business needs, and then I match them with the right marketing partners. So over the course of the last 6 years, I've talked to 1,035 different marketing agencies and experts. And my entire thing is talking to people, understanding what they need from a business sense, and going based on that, here's the avenues of marketing that I think you need help in. And based on the avenues that I think you want to run, these are the people that I recommend you have a conversation with. So essentially, I'm just a matchmaker between marketing and businesses together.
It's a really great idea. Like it's one of those things where you go, and how do you do that? And I won't ask you to go into the details of how you do what you do, but that sounds way simpler than it probably is.
Yeah, it is. It is way simpler than it is. Like, so there's people that are trying to replicate this model, and the way that they replicate it is by just sending a bunch of emails out, building out a database of agencies, and then businesses say they need something, and then they'll just shoot an email to the database and say who can do this, right? And every agency will say they can do stuff, but they can't actually do it.
Never heard that happen before.
Or experience that.
Right, exactly. And so my part in the hard part of it is like having to meet this amount of people. Like when I'm saying I'm at 1,035, I've jumped on calls with these people. I'm not even accounting for the people that I met in conferences and things like that. And so as you're doing that, you're just trying to assess like what are they really, really good at? What are they good at in terms of like the size of business and all this different kind of stuff. And so essentially you're matchmaking on both sides. And Joe and Carly, I'm sure you know, like as businesses are growing, they're broken as they grow. Like, right, every single time your business grows, you break. And it's no different on the agency side, right? Like, so as an agency grows, their business, they also break. So essentially, you're trying to do matchmaking with two broken entities at the same time where they're just the right amount of broken that they can help each other kind of grow together. And that's extremely hard to do.
What I love about your business is you identified your strength of being like, I'm a connector. I'm good at building relationships and finding a niche because I feel like people just kind of fall into whatever their background is, or I can do my own marketing for people. But you're just like, no, I'm really good at introducing people to other people, and I'm going to make a career out of that.
Yeah.
Like leading into your strength because you just have found such a creative and unique way to do that.
It's funny. My wife said something to me yesterday, and she never voiced this to me. She's like, Behdad, you do your like when I tell my friends, I'm like, Behdad basically just created this like magical role and it didn't exist before. And then you got people to pay you to do it and found a way to make money out of it. I was like, I never thought about it like that. Like the marketing broker thing never existed. And I just kind of like randomly made it.
It's pretty interesting because you don't see a lot of solopreneurs creating a new kind of business. I mean, but it happens once in a while, and you're a great example of it. We talk about that in the Solopreneur Business for Dummies book. And it's like, here, you can create a whole new business. Think hard before you create a whole new business because
you're paving the road.
There may be a reason it doesn't exist. That is not
right. Exactly.
But so you have spoken to thousands of people. We'll include the conferences and everything and boost that number from the 1,035. Not that you need boosting, but we're solopreneurs just starting out. of the conversations you've had, what would you say the first marketing steps they should take should be?
I mean, if they have something they love doing, like they already know that piece, the next piece becomes like what channels interest them. Like if you're a solopreneur, you're running a business, yeah, there's gonna be certain channels that are gonna work really, really well, right? Like, but the ones that you are in like gonna have fun doing, like have fun learning, I think are gonna be
Define
more effective.
channels. Define
So
channels.
so channels could be you could be doing like SEO, you could be doing paid ads, you could be doing social media. And then when you break down social media, it could be literally Instagram, LinkedIn, Reddit. Like there's so many channels that you can choose from in marketing. And if you just do like ChatGPT and go in there and say, this is my business, I want to know what marketing channels might make sense for my business. That at least will give you a starting list of like starting to go do some research and figure out what you like.
If ChatGPT tells you to try to use non-local SEO as a solopreneur, it will.
Be aware.
It will. Don't listen. It's not a good strategy anymore.
Yeah, just use that as a way of just like if you don't know what channels are out there, at least to give you a little bit more insights, and then do your research. But then just start looking at the channels of which one you're excited about doing. Like some people like building out content on YouTube and they just love to do longer form videos, right? Others might like to do the short term, like shorter videos, for example. And so like Instagram and TikTok might make more sense. Obviously, you have to know that your audience is on those platforms too. But I think whatever you want to give energy to and you're excited about, I think start there first because you're going to be able to do it for longer. And in marketing, like sometimes you'll get really quick and fast wins, which is like 1% of the marketing world. But a lot of it is just like stuff that's done over time that ends up kind of just compounding and expanding and then hitting that tipping point.
Well, so for solopreneurs, a lot of times they'll start the business and they're not marketers. They're focused on the one thing and the reason they started in the first place. So when they're flying blindly, how should they assess their own marketing needs before they seek outside help? What should they look out for?
Yeah, I mean, like educate yourself as much as you can. Like there's courses that you can take on like high level marketing stuff. There's books on it. Like educate yourself a bit, like at least have a foundation aspect to it. And if you're like a solopreneur and you have a full-time job, for example, like use some of the money that you're making your full-time job to just help you learn faster. Like if it means like hiring a consultant at $200 to $300 an hour to just give you some ideas around marketing strategy and that kind of stuff, like that might be money well spent because it'll actually fast forward the amount of time that you have to actually learn that stuff. Like $300 per an hour might actually save you a year of time. Right. And you don't need to do it ongoing. Just like find the expertise, reach out to your network and see if you can get some people to kind of help you push you forward and give you those ideas so that you don't have to like keep hitting a wall. So that'd be kind of two ways. Like if you don't have the money, there's books, there's really like cheap courses that you can get. Like if you just do some searching around marketing. And then if you have the money, just like invest in some consultants every now and then. You don't need to hire them full time or ongoing, but you can pay them one time to learn different things.
So let me ask you, if solopreneurs are overwhelmed with everything related to marketing, they're like, well, you say I can read books. There's a million books on marketing. You say I should reach out to a marketing consultant. There's a million of those. And then if they type in that list for ChatGPT just to see their direction and are like, well, I like long form videos. I like short form videos. Love TikTok trends, but I also like connecting with people on LinkedIn. And they're just all over the place. What would you recommend they do?
Choose one, like just choose one that you want to start with, because if you're like all over the place and you're trying to do everything at once, it's going to be just too hard, right? So find the one thing that you like to do. And it's like, okay, there's all of these, rank them. Like as an engineer, I always do like selection sort. So I'll like, let's say I have 5 options. I'll literally take the top option. I'll put it on the right-hand side. And then the second option, I go, do I like this more or less than the first option? And then I put it on top. And I use the third one, same thing. Do I like it more than the second one? And then you just basically selection sort this list. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is the top one because I like this the most. Go that way, right? The thing with business and entrepreneurship and all this stuff is like, there's going to be so many avenues to take all the time. You just need to make a decision and just start moving forward with something and then just reevaluate every 2 or 3 months. Be like, is this working? Do I still like this? And the thing is, a lot of times with marketing, you have to do things for a long time until they actually hit, right? Like a lot of people that you see, like for example, I have a friend of mine and she looks up to me, but she doesn't realize how much I look up to her. She started basically doing videos in the automotive industry. She's working there, making probably, I think, 40 to 50 grand a year. But she was really good at video editing, like really good at video editing. And you could just see that talent. And so she started playing around with it, started getting in front of the camera more, started becoming more confident in front of the camera. Around like year 3 and 4, kind of the same as me, she started getting different projects. A company started reaching out. She became an influencer. She has like over 500,000 followers on TikTok. She has Instagram at 400,000 followers. Like but it built over the last 4 or 5 years. And she was just at Procter and Gamble this last week, like doing videos for them. Like that, it just blows my mind on just how it grew, because she just chose her channels, Instagram, TikTok, stuck to them, met other creators, kept improving, and just insane what she's been able to do in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
That's
No,
great.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, we were talking about the 200th episode, but I feel like we were kind of like that even with this podcast. Like we were growing steadily. We were constantly growing. And then I would say just like 6 months ago or so, you saw it go like this to whoop, and went on Apple now for Solopreneur. And like, it was just like, I mean, I want to say it's because we cracked the code and changed things, but I'm also like, but we put in the reps too.
Well, that's absolutely true. I mean, it really, a lot of these things come down to putting in the time and the energy and just, making it, happen week after week. And you can't shortcut that stuff sometimes.
Yeah, that's 100% it.
Well, let's say somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh, I didn't know your business existed, because nobody did, because you're a kind of your own unique little world. But they're like, that's exactly what I needed, because I don't know what to look for in outsourcing my marketing. I don't know what's considered good and what's not. So can you walk us through kind of the process? Let's say a one-person business owner is listening. They need marketing help and they're like, B, help me. What does that process look like?
Yeah. So with businesses that are typically one person, like I typically work with businesses 3 to 30 million. Like that's the range where I do a lot of the connecting. But people that are typically like businesses that are smaller than that, you almost have to like work from the ground up. And so I typically just offer like 1 or 2 consulting sessions to kind of get them on the right path and what to think about. And so the way that typically works is, one, talking to the solopreneur, understanding their business, like how it works, what they're doing, what kind of customers they have, all that different kind of stuff, to just understand where they're fundamentally at and what revenue range they're at. And then really understanding, like, is there profit left in the business, right? Like if there's no profit left in the business, there's not much you can do, right? Like you just got to keep hacking at it until you have a little money saved up, so that you can go, hey, I now have, $2,000 or $3,000 a month that I can dedicate to some form of marketing. And that doesn't mean like hiring an agency, right? Like it could literally mean like, hey, I'm doing social media posts and I don't want to be posting them on the weekend anymore, or scheduling them myself. So it's like, cool, like you should probably be hiring like a BA for social media. You don't even need to start working with agency at this point. You just need to get the execution stuff off your plate so you can do more of what brings you money, right? So my recommendation always kind of in the beginning is like figuring out what your key channels are, and then how do you basically get people to help you execute those for the least amount of cost possible. And then as you keep growing, then you can start using the bigger players. Typically, once you start hitting that like $2 or $3 million range is when you start working with like more like legit and stronger agencies. Up until that point, I think you're kind of like bringing things together. Like case in point, I have a call later today with one of my good friends who's now a customer of mine. And he literally just wrote me out a marketing strategy. And he's like, I don't know how to resource this. Like, I want to do all of these things, but I don't know how to resource this thing. So I'm doing a consulting session for him to literally go, hey, based on the stuff that you have here, you likely need some sort of marketing director for this piece. You likely could use this kind of contractor for this specific thing. And then these other things have to be filled in by someone else. Like, and just organizing how he'd be able to do all that. And then also resetting expectations, because he's expecting for things to happen in the next 3 months. And I'm like, this is probably going to take way longer than that. And I just need you to mentally be prepared for that, because it's going to probably take you 6 months to 12 months to do the thing you're trying to do there. Does that help answer that question?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, so for people, so like misunderstood timelines, but for people that decide they're like, oh, I don't need your service right now, I'm going to go this alone, and they try to look for a marketing partner by themselves, what mistakes do you see people make when they try to find them on their own?
Yeah, this is fun. So one, I just want to talk about like the how much it hurts when you pick the wrong marketing partner, right? Like, and I've seen this multiple times, because I mean, Joe, I'm sure you know too. Like, whenever you hire a marketing agency or partner, you have to ramp them up, and so it takes you 3 to 6 months typically to ramp these people up, find out they're not good, let them go, and then you have to go through the whole process again, right? And typically it takes 3 to 5 tries to find one partner you really like. And so that hurts. It could take you like 2 years to find someone you really like to work with.
And a lot of wasted money, because they don't do that ramp up for free.
Exactly. So that's like one of the biggest factors. The other thing is people will just go through their network, and just whoever they get, they won't talk to enough people, right? So they'll go to the network. People recommend 2 or 3 people to talk to the 2 or 3, because they don't want to do the extra work. They'll just pick one of the 2 or 3 people and go, that's good enough. I'm going to do my thing. But good enough, a lot of the times in marketing isn't good enough. You don't really get anywhere with it. So that's the other piece. The second one would be communication. Like, you have to be able to communicate and understand the other side, right? So if you have like a very basic level of marketing experience, and then you're hiring an expert, and that expert is talking at a level of like, let's say 9 out of 10 on Facebook ads, for example, and you understand it at a 0 or 1 out of 10, there's going to be a lot of context and a lot of information missed, and you're just going to blindly trust someone but not realize that they're actually not good potentially, right? So, and one other one, because it's actually happened the last 3 weeks twice now. A business will hire someone for some form of marketing, so say Facebook or Google ads, and never actually go into the accounts to see what's going on. And this is where like both these businesses actually hire business consultants just to look at a high level. Like, I'm not a massive expert, like deep level expert of Facebook or Google ads, but I know my way around to go, hey, this Google ads account, they're spending a ton of money on. So the business, for context, is like a physio clinic, like anyone who needs physios, chiro, that kind of stuff. And they were basically spending 80% of their budget in RMT, so registered massage therapy. And he's like, Behdad, I've actually let go of one of my RMTs. I went from 2 to 1. We're not even trying to fill that service. So why is 80% of my Google ads budget going into that? And then we went into his negative keywords, and he's like, there was information on like recovery after an ACL injury, or like program for an ACL injury. Those were in his negative keywords, which I found bizarre, because I go to my physio, and the thing he talks about the most is they built they have an entire program on how to get back from ACL and MCL injuries. Like, that's what they do. And it was in the negative keywords list. And then I was like, just shocked.
This is worse than what we went through, Carly.
I didn't even even have to deal with the brunt of that because I was on maternity leave.
Yeah. It was,
but it's that kind of stuff.
It's amazing. Yeah. And we're fortunate now we found somebody very good for that. But, oh boy, that's incredible. Yeah, let me have negative keywords for the things you want for business. Yep.
Yeah. And he was shocked. He's like, Behdad, what does negative keywords mean, and why is this under there? And I was like, it's exactly what you think it is. And he's like, oh, okay. So you can even do this stuff yourself. Like, you probably don't even need consult. I haven't looked on YouTube, but it was like how to audit a Google Ads account. I'm sure if you search that, someone is going to teach you how to do it.
They teach you how to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think this episode is just so helpful for people that are starting out or are in their business a little bit and are like, okay, it's time for me to outsource some marketing, and just kind of where to start, the red flags and everything. But I have to ask, since you are in the marketing world, what kind of trends do you think solopreneurs should keep track of over the next few years?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I got asked this question also yesterday, and I had a jumbled up answer. And then I thought about it, and I was like, it's jumbled up because it's so crazy right now. Like, everything is kind of shifting in the marketing world right now. And when you simplify it down, it's like, oh, execution is becoming so much easier to do for smaller businesses, right? There's so many AI tools out there that you can now start creating really good creative for your Facebook ads, for example, yourself, without needing a ton of experience. You can create copywriting that could be like a 4 or 5 out of 10 level without needing a ton of experience. Like, it's not like getting to average now is so much easier with AI. That it allows smaller businesses to basically have more things that they're able to do because they have better, like, they can use the resources more effectively, if that makes sense.
But what does that really mean in the big picture? If everybody's, as I always think of Lake Wobegon. I don't know if you remember that radio program where all the children are above average. And it's like, what does it mean when the average moves up like that? Does it really help, or is it just raising the bar and now you've got to do even better to get noticed?
Yeah, so that's exactly it. So what it'll help is like the solopreneurs who need to get from let's say a level 0 to a level 5, right? Like, at least people will have some sort of like solid foundation. Like, more people are going to have a solid foundation, but the difference is going to be in the experts. And so I don't think AI is going to take over any strategic stuff, expert level type work. Like, to use AI effectively, like, for example, for storytelling, you need to be an expert level storyteller to know if what it's giving you is good. Right? And it's going to be the same for literally everything, from development to creative to whatever it is, to branding. Like, you ultimately need to be an expert in that area to be able to create great and expert work. So I think it's just going to be the level of person has to amplify to just become even better. And those people are going to become even more valuable. What I'm noticing in the marketing agency space is that if people are going to sit into execution, like, those marketing agencies are really going to struggle. It's going to be the marketing agencies that shift over to strategy and truly understand marketing strategy, which I would say a lot of them don't. Like when I'm saying a lot, I'm saying like 90% don't. And so they're going to have to upskill. And then it's the people that are able to bring multiple aspects together now. So it's no longer going to be the Google Ads person, and then you have a landing page person, and then you have an email person, right? Like I think because execution is going to become so much easier to do, agencies have to bring all of these services together to say, hey, we run your Google Ads, we take care of your landing pages, we also do CRO, and we do email, and we do it well because we can actually do it effectively. And so I think for solopreneurs, it's being aware that this shift is happening. And so a lot of marketing agencies right now, I don't think are going to survive in the longer term. They're going to have to shift into becoming different. But the marketing fundamentals always stay the same. You're still dealing with people, you're still dealing with their emotions, and you're still dealing with what they want to be, right?
I think that you said something that I think is a little bit unlikely where you said they're going to have to upskill. I don't know that people can upskill into being strategic. That's a leap. I mean, you think about somebody that's, focused on tactics and execution as a business, shifting that business into a strategic, I don't know. It sounds hard to me.
Yeah, it might not be them. Like it might be they have to bring a partner in that thinks that's a strategic piece. Like we both know, like there's visionaries and executors of companies, right? Like, and so the executors are gonna have to understand, like we probably need a visionary to come into here and help us with the strategy because we're not gonna figure it out, right? Or it's just not their strength, which is a great
and
point.
The visionaries need the executors too, because the visionaries always having tested as a visionary, which I thought was great when I took the test, and then realized no, not so great. It's the visionaries need reining in. So yeah, you're right. That's probably the best thing is for those people to come together and keep each other focused and in check. But anyway, so for all of our executing solopreneurs might want to be thinking a little bit about finding a way to get a little more strategic, because it's, making, I don't know, I just think about making, like you said, a level 4 or 5 out of 10 copywriter is now $20 a month.
Yeah, it's not expensive anymore. It's crazy.
I think this episode will help lead so many people into or hopefully give them some direction of where to go with their marketing efforts and how to outsource it and what to look for. And so you will help them find success with that. So thank you. So we have to ask, what is your favorite quote about success?
It's not about the outcome, it's about the process. I think I've really like internalized that like very over the last 2 years, right? So we all have this expected outcome that we want to hit. And I think the more you tie to like, I need to hit this thing, I think the more you're going to struggle within business versus like just enjoying the process of what you're going to. So like having the goal, having the thing you want to do, but just enjoying the process of it, I think it becomes more and more important and who you become as you go through that process.
Could not agree more. Well, if people want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
2 places. So LinkedIn is somewhere I'm quite often. So looking at Behdad Jamshidi, I put a lot of content on LinkedIn and try to help people not get caught by marketing agencies and tactics. And then the second aspect, if you go to my website, www.cjammarketing.com, in the resource section, there's a bunch of questions that you can use for vetting agencies, the top questions to ask, and just how to think about hiring partners. So feel free to use those resources yourself.
And that's C as the letter C, Jam Marketing.
Exactly.
Right. Yep. Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We so appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We would love that 5-star review. We'd love it if you'd share it with a friend and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. And we will see you next time on The Aspiring Solopreneur.